everyone, it's Book of Katherine, and this time I'd like to talk to my gamers, my diggers, my Reddit fans, and I want to talk to you about something that your parents are not explaining to you at all, and the rest of the world is not explaining to you at all in very good terms, and the money that is not being told to you about, and just everything that's being hidden from you. So it is your free choice. It is your freedom to play video games. It is absolutely your freedom. That is your free choice to play video games. But there's a lot of stuff that you're not being told about that I think that you guys as inquisitive minds, like I know I read your Reddit, I watch PewDiePie and I watch Pew News and everything like that. So I know it, like your minds are amazing, and I love the digging that you do. I mean, I watch other things and I read other things, so I'm aware of how brilliant you are, which is exactly the reason that I'm doing this video. And I think that you're interested in this. I just don't think anyone's telling you. And so I thought that if you're willing to listen, then I'm willing to do the video, and there you go. All right. So I think that when you hear things like, there was a video that I did on a Twitter hate network. It's called Crash Override Networks. And it's this Twitter, Zoe Quinn actually worked for that Twitter network. And remember when Gamergate happened, it all started with Zoe Quinn. And everyone thought that, it was all about the media sided with her because she was a girl in the PC gaming world. But it was actually because she worked for Crash Override Networks, which is this group of Twitter profilers who have a bunch of skins. Like each of them has 50 to 100 skins. And what they do is they go around for companies or for political advisors and things like that. And if a product, like say a company is going to bring out a product that they don't want to come out, they do a Twitter hate campaign against them. They send like thousands of hate things and they dox them until that person is so scared they stop putting out that product. If it doesn't work, then they go with the media, and then the media goes and does newspaper stories on them saying, look at all these people, they have a ton of haters, and how can you believe this company? And then everyone hates the product and the product doesn't work. So it's this really cruel company that Zoe worked for that Twitter uses to take down all the opponents of all these things. And and I know that you use skins and you do similar things, but the fact of the matter is that Twitter does this for the global, what you would call the Illuminati. But what happened is Zoe leaked some of these documents of the chat rooms behind Crash Override Networks and the things they were saying. And they even say on it, these chat rooms say, they laugh about how you guys think the Illuminati exists. And they're like, we should go make the Illuminati. They're like, haha, they already think that it exists, right? They make fun of the things that you guys think happen because they create your reality. They know that all the articles that you guys share on Reddit and everything like that, they know all of it's fake. They know all of that stuff is called AstroTurf. It's all paid media. Even the stuff on alternative media, it's all fake story that's paid. Every story on CNN, every group that walks down with the senator, that group is Crowds on Demand. That's an actual group of crowds for hire. It's advertised on CNN. Just like Logan Paul is an influencer they advertise on Forbes, hire him and put your skateboard on it, and this is how much he costs to be featured on his channel. So all of this stuff is paid media. And the reason I bring that up is that when your parents and things like that they get upset about playing video games and everything. And the reason that even on my channel, I've said things about playing video games is because I know, the people who control this, 1%, I know that's the UN and the UN dictators, and I know what these countries want. They've said it. They've outlined a government document. I even know that the John Perry Barlow speech was written by them, about the internet and going after the industrialized world. Everything he wrote in that speech in the internet to you guys was actually in the UN, written by UN dictators. And you guys thought it was some great speech, oh, freedom from the internet. No, it was actually a move against democracy and votes by the free people for what you guys call the New World Order. And that's all traceable. It's all in my research. It's all on my Twitter feed. And why am I bringing that up? Because my point is that what they did is they released video games, and they used these video games to sideline the young men of the world off, and they put out all of these stories that trap you and get you talking and doing Reddit feeds and everything, but they want you off. I'm going to give you a real clear picture. I want you to watch news feeds of Times Square. Watch news things of Times Square. Like, go ahead and watch it. Are there any men walking in Times Square anymore? Like, watch city streets, like not London, where that's different because certain cultures don't play video games. But if you're in America and you watch the city streets and the city squares, you will see women walking around. You will not see young men. And that is the point. Why is that? Because we know when you read through Dinesh D'Souza, he outlined like the 21 points of the Nazi agenda way back in the 1950s. He outlined it all in this clip right here. And wouldn't you know it, that 300-page document that the UN wrote, it's exactly, like it's verbatim, it's the whole thing. And you know who defeated the Nazis? It was young men like you. And they took care of you first, didn't they? They locked you up in rooms and got you addicted and into a self-imposed prison that you never leave, that you chose. You removed yourself from the workplace. You made yourself a non-actor in life so that they could make all the decisions in the business and the workplace, so that you were a non-competitor when it came to the activities, you know, because you're a powerful voice. You're the one thing that would fight it. And you're like a necessary part of society. And if they remove you, they make America much weaker, much, much weaker. And what they did is they painted, I've seen everything that you say. You really think that it's like a woman's world out there when it's not. I can tell you, like, my husband works out there in it. I've worked out in there. I traveled all over America. It's not a woman's world. That's what they paint for you. It's the reality that Zoe and her friends paint for you on Twitter every day. And with all these astroturfing things, they paint that world for you. But if you ever actually got out there and if you ever actually worked it, you would find out that it's a pretty freaking equal society where you would be rewarded for your work. It's pretty amazing. Not only that, but the skills that you have, and this is why parents get upset, but more than your parents, because your parents don't even get this. More than that, I know that the skills it takes for you to do the analyzing you do, especially on the Q boards, like forget like just Reddit, but like certain boards that you have, the work that you do is worth the $100,000 jobs, the $300,000 jobs. The actual minds that you have that are going out and doing all this analyzing and bringing together and all the charts that you do and the videos that you do and the video graphics that you do, the mind that it takes to do all of that and the speed at which you work. Like there are positions like being an actuary. Like actuaries make like $300,000. And you would compete with the 1%'s kids to do those jobs. And now my husband works in an engineering software firm, and he is dying to look for any kind of job to fulfill for these basic jobs, and there's no one to fill them. All these companies all over America are just looking for jobs that used to be filled by young men like you, who were able to do these jobs, and they're not being filled because you are self-imposing yourself in a prison. And what does that do? That weakens American companies and makes us ripe for socialism and taking over, and everything that you hate and everything that you despise and everything that you see coming down the pike that your teachers are saying will happen, that you don't want to happen, they will absolutely happen because you are not participating in society. And that's exactly what they want. So I know that you feel like being a part of the video gaming community makes you a separate young man out there, but I'm saying the reason that it sets parents and the reason that it gets me and others riled up is because we are very, very aware of how much value you have to society, how amazing you are, how brilliant you are, and we know how much people would pay for those skills. And you're giving it to Google and the world for free. And it just goes hidden while you stay in a self-imposed jail cell. And at the end of that, if you stay in there, then that world that you so fear will come to pass. And then your parents will be gone. That money dries up because the money that you're spending right now is the taxes that are being, like the money that you're spending right now are all tax revenue that's being made off of the people who are working. That generation's going to die off real fast. And that's when they move in. That's when this 300-page document moves in, And then that's it. Like, that's it. That's when they put you to slave labor, where you don't get a choice. Like, for order for society to function, people have to be out there, and they have relegated you into the side. And that's why it drives people nuts. And your parents may not know all these things about the UN and stuff like that, and may not know it, but I always say, I'm like, always ask who benefits, and I always look who benefits. So, oh, they're benefiting from this. Well, who benefits from that? And then I go up and up. I don't care about like the crowds. All right, well, who is that? Looks like it's been organized. Who organized that? Well, then who paid for that organization? Then who paid for that? And I always try to work my way up, and I've worked my way up into the UN. And isn't it interesting that the UN made Germany in charge of the EU? Isn't it interesting that that's who they put in charge at the very beginning? When they put out this 300-page document, they put Germany in charge. They made it the central. You think that's an accident? No. No. And you think that George Soros, who said his happiest time, he was raised as a Nazi youth, and said his happiest days were when he was during occupied Hitler and ran out the Jews and confiscated their wealth. That was his happiest time in memory. You think that's an accident? That he's carrying out the entire UN agenda with all of his societies? You think that's an accident? Like, you always have to look above and see, like, well, because it's not Soros. Everybody looks at Soros, but Soros's entire agenda and all of his companies are working for what agenda? Who wrote that agenda? It's the UN. The UN wrote their agenda, and they're just funding him, and then it goes through him, and everyone stops with him. They don't look who's above him. Who funded him? The Rothschilds gave him his first loan. The UN, the Rothschild, the banking system, they're all right up here. And they created the video games. Like, you're right where they want you. And I know it feels rebellious. Why do you think the games are changing? Like, they want you to be despairing. They want you to lose it. They want you to think the world has changed out there, but it hasn't. And until you get out there, it'll be too late. And then they'll force you to be out there, and it'll be like Mordor at the end. What Mordor's vision was, that is what. And I'm sorry, but Lord of the Rings was based on World War II, so that it wouldn't happen again. And that vision that they had is the vision that's being perpetrated throughout the world again. That's what they have envisioned for the world. And the thing is that the people who defeated them were you guys. Why do you think they went after you first and gave you Illuminati cards? Right after they put out Agenda 21. They didn't want you hearing about Agenda 21. So you guys got to talk about the Illuminati, and then they killed off the guy, so you could never say who hired him. You can see that video. I talk about it right here. But always, these guys, it's always shiny ball over here. George Soros over here, so you can't see who wrote the actual doctrine of all these things. So you guys are so smart, but you could be making $300,000 as an actuary. And having everything you want, and getting rid of all the people in your life you don't want, and not dealing with, that's when you wait, like, women that you want to meet and things like that, not having to deal with these women that treat you so poorly. There are women out there who are actually pretty great, but the women that you want to meet are not online. They're not doing these sorts of things. They're actually women who will treat you pretty great, but they're out there. They're out in the real world, and they're out working these jobs, and you'll really, really like them. I've met I've met some amazing women, and they would love you. They would love you. I've seen you guys. You guys are amazing, amazing men with amazing people with amazing minds. You have amazing minds, but you have to be out there, and just by being sidelined, that's how your parents see it. You're being sidelined. But the problem is that that's how the people who created it see it. Like, that was the goal. And that's what's hard, is that, you have so many gifts and so many talents, and, who gets the money that you spend on video games? Who gets that money? Are you earning money off the talent it takes you to play those games? Why not use those skills on something that enriches your life and builds it up? You can still play video games at night, but what about during the day? So that's just why it drives them nuts. And why, because in my head, all I ever see are the pods from the Matrix. And when you're locked up in your room all day, and when you leave school and you come back and you're just in that room, All I see are those pods from the Matrix and the 1% just feeding off all your wealth. And anytime your mom or your grandma or anyone gives you money, it just goes right to the 1%. It just goes right through you. And they're feeding you, this 1% is feeding you a false reality. They're feeding you a matrix. They're feeding you this thing of, oh, feminism. They're feeding you this dark world online. They're feeding you AstroTurf articles. They're feeding you all these things so that gyrates you and keeps you in this room, so that they can just suck off all your money, your mom's money, your parents' money, your grandparents' money, and they can just take it all out. But you have the ability still right now to flush yourself down, get out, and go earn your own bank. And they can't suck off of you anymore. And that's why it's frustrating. I'm kind of like I'm just seeing all these like houses with just people, and they're choosing to be in that pod and let the 1% just suck their wealth off. You know? Just drain money from them dry. And at the end of your life, that's what you've done, is you've just let the 1% earn all your family, your people, your relatives, just suck that money out from under you. And there's nothing and they're so happy because while you were in that pod, while you were in that room, and they just sucked all that money from you, they were busy taking over America, taking your vote and destroying it and making it into that hellhole they wanted to make it into, that you thought was already out there, but isn't. It isn't right now. And unless you crawl out of that pod and get out there and make sure, you know, that it doesn't die, it will become that. And that's up to you. Look into World War II things. They're strong. But read Jordan Peterson and he'll tell you how. All right, 12 rules for life. Mwah, I love you. I love you so much. You're so brilliant. You're so smart. You're so fast. You know, go out there and take it back, you know, become the amazing individual you are, but like you earn the wealth from it. Stop letting them drain it. All right, love you.